So hello guys, we are the group 10 about project 3 and I'm Nikki Mu.
I'm Mia.
And my name is Serge.
So our project is focused on the MG. MG is a chronic autoimmune disorder in which antibodies destroy the communication between nerves and muscle, resulting in the weakness of the skeletal muscles. It also affects the voluntary muscles of the body, especially that control the eyes, mouth, throat, and limbs. The symptom of that one could be there's no cure for MG. Treatment can be help with the symptom. This symptom can be include weakness of arm or leg muscles, double vision, dropping eyelids, and problem with speaking, chewing, swelling, and breathing. So the age of this disease that can be affect people of any age, but is more common in women younger than 40 and in men older than 60. So what is CAR-T and why is CAR-T? A study showed that feasibility of the transgenic express B cell BMCA target RNA similarity receptor T cell therapy in patients with MG. RNA CAR-T cell therapy uses the body's own immune cells to fight disease. This therapy has been successful in treating cancer. So what do we need at points moving into the United States? The first one is about research and development. For the in vitro studies, the most prevalent autoantigens in MG, such as the H muscle-specific kinase, low-density lymphoprotein receptor-related protein 4 CAR-T cells are targeted. The second one is about the NG CAR-T cells using viral or non-viral method to express receptors specific to MG-associated antigens. And the third one is about test the ability of CAR-T cells to recognize the bind to antigen-expressing cells using ELSA, flow cytometry, or immunofluorescence. And the last one is about the cytotoxicity of CAR-T cells to antigen-expressing target cells was evaluated in the co-culture analysis to determine their ability to eliminate pathogenic antibody-producing cells. And the five is to evaluate specific of CAR-T cell to minimize non-target effects, particularly on cells expressing similar or low levels of target antigens. And the last one is about release testing was performed to assess the likelihood of cycle of CRS, a common side effect of the CAR-T cell therapy. So in vivo studies, the use of the movement physical models that closely mimic human MG, such as gene engineering to express human MG-related antigens or immunize mice to develop MG-like symptoms. The second one is about the CAR-T cells are administered and monitored for improvement in muscle strength, reduction in autoantibody levels, and restoration of normal neuromuscular junction structure and function. The third one is about monitor animals for signs of acute or chronic toxicity, including CRS, neurotoxicity, and off-target effects. The first one is about to evaluate the long-term precedence of CAR-T cells. So the 4.2 is about develop regulatory strategy, which should include engaging with the FDA early and often through pre-IND meetings and potentially benefiting from programs like breakthrough therapy. The point 3 is about investigational new drug, which means the IND, the get data from the preclinical studies, manufacturer information, and investigator information, and then submitting it to FDA. So for the point 4, it's about clinical trials in phase 1, assessing safety and determine the optimal dose of CAR-T cells. Given that MG is an autoimmune disease, special attention should be paid to the management of potential adverse effects, in particular CRS. So for phase 2 is about evaluation of efficacy in a larger group of patients and further evaluation of safety. In phase 3 is about that confirm the efficacy of the treatment, monitor side effects directly compare with current standard treatment, and gather all necessary information to ensure that the treatment is commercially available. But the point 5 is about submit BLA. The BLA is submitted to the FDA after a successful clinical trial. This application should include all clinical trial data, manufacturing process details, and labeling, packaging, and marketing programs. Then FDA reviews the application, which may include advisory committee meetings, facility inspections, and detailed assessment of clinical trial data. BLA, which means for biologics license application. So for the point 6 is about marketing. Before launch, we extended manufacturing to meet commercial demands. It's necessary to keep quality the same. CAR-T needs sophisticated production and distribution because of its personal nature. The second one is about make sure shipments won't go wrong. The third one is about develop a pricing strategy that reflects the value of the therapy and considers the healthcare economics within the US is essential. And during and post-launch, we may need to keep the continue and to monitor the therapy safety and efficacy through the post-marketing programs. The second one is about engage with insurance companies and Medicare to secure reimbursement pathways, ensuring that eligible patients have access to the therapy.
Thank you. And then I will introduce what we need to do to move CAR-T into MG in Germany. And next slide. The first thing is about clinical trials and research. The Pro-Ehrlich Institute is the German authority responsible for the evaluation and approval of clinical trials in the field of vaccine and biomedicines. The clinical trials are used to assess the efficacy and safety of medicinal products. It includes preclinical studies, phase 1, 2, 3, and 4 clinical trials. Phase 1, 2, and 3 clinical trials are conducted before a medicinal product is authorized and allowed to enter the market. Phase 4 clinical trials are conducted post-authorizations as needed. So extensive research and clinical trials are required to demonstrate the safety and efficacy of CAR-T therapy for MG. Ethics committee and the regulatory approval are required before each clinical trial of CAR-T therapy for MG can be conducted. Each clinical trial for vaccine and biomedicines to be conducted in Germany must first receive a positive vote from the responsible ethics committee and receive a positive evaluation and approval from the Pro-Ehrlich Institute, which takes the vote of the ethics committee into account. The second thing is about regulatory approvals. The figure on the right shows the process of how to assess whether a biological product is an advanced therapy medicinal product. Under current European Union regulations, CAR-T cell therapies fall under the Advanced Therapy Medical Product Framework. The applicants submit their authorization applications and the clinical trial data to the PEI. The PEI independently assesses the result of data obtained from the clinical trials by pharmaceutical companies and the non-commercial sponsors. If approved, the PEI grants permission to CAR-T cell therapy for non-routinely manufactured advanced therapy medicinal products. And next slide. The third thing is healthcare system improvements. First, we should consider the development of CAR-T centers. In Germany, patients receiving CAR-T therapy need to visit CAR-T centers, which need to be highly specialized in order to comply with the complex requirements of the regulatory agencies. Development of CAR-T centers can help patients get timely treatment in their geographical region. The second is to improve doctors' awareness of CAR-T therapy. Insufficient knowledge about CAR-T cell therapy may delay patients with MG receiving CAR-T therapy. Improving doctors' awareness will allow more patients to be treated in a timely manner, and then establishing pathway for patient referral. Outpatient physicians can refer patients who could benefit from the therapy to qualified CAR-T centers to ensure patients getting timely treated. And the last is the training more healthcare workers who are familiar with the CAR-T therapy process. And next slide. Cost and reimbursement. The first strategy is bundled payments. Payers can negotiate with drug manufacturers for reimbursement of entire CAR-T therapy on bundled payment. And the next is the advanced agreements. Currently, CAR-T center bears the financial responsibility if actual treatment costs exceed the negotiated limit, or if payers deny or withdraw reimbursement for completed CAR-T therapy. For the cost of CAR-T therapy for MG, it is necessary to make advanced agreement between payers and the CAR-T centers. And the third is the pay for performance. Payers can negotiate with drug manufacturers that the payment based on the patient outcomes. If the patient is successfully treated, the payer will pay the full cost. If the patient falls, the drug manufacturer covers the cost. And next slide. And then I will introduce the compassionate use programming. Under current German regulations, authorized medicinal products may be placed at the disposal of severely diseased people as long as this is in line with the compassionate use and there is no therapeutic alternative. Through this programming, the PI will assess CAR-T therapy for the treatment of MG. If approved, unauthorized CAR-T therapy can be offered to patients with severe MG for compassionate use. And finally, I will talk about the patient advocacy and the support. The first is the disease awareness. So we can collaborate on awareness campaigns can help increase public and professional understanding of MG. It is potentially leading to earlier diagnosis and better treatment outcomes. The second is about the access programs. So we can collaborate with patient advocacy groups to create or enhance patient assistance programs, ensuring that CAR-T therapy are accessible and affordable for patients who need them most. The third one is the network opportunity. So we can create forums where patients, caregivers, healthcare providers, and drug manufacturers can share treatment and care experience. Next slide.
Perfect. I can take over from here. So looking at the actual manufacturing time frame and the actual preparation, we're required to move CAR-T into myasthenia gravis in the United Kingdom. I'm going to kind of go over each step-by-step process as well. Next slide. So prior to actually initiating any type of therapy options or actually investigating anything, we need to do preclinical phase data. So essentially the objective of this phase is to establish a strong scientific foundation of the CAR-T therapy and efficacy and safety. It is especially true in any country, whether it be United States, Germany, or EU, or the United Kingdom, especially after the Brexit. The timeline for this is usually 1 to 2 years before filing an IND or a CTA application. And what you do is same thing as the United States or Germany, as we discussed before. You go ahead and do in vitro and in vivo studies to assess the safety, efficacy, and the mechanism of action, of course. Selection of a CAR construct and optimization. Essentially, each CAR therapy is different in terms of how it functions and what it attaches to and the mechanisms of action. So you want to construct that essentially and showcase its mechanism of action during the actual in vitro and vivo studies. Earlier engagement with the MHRA, essentially the United Kingdom's kind of regulatory framework through the innovation passport under the ILAP to gain regulatory insights and advice. It's really important to do that, especially for a therapy that's more on the advanced side. Deliverables, preclinical safety reports are very important. Selection of lead CAR-T candidate and the preliminary manufacturing process are key to make sure that you're in touch with the MHRA I would say on a monthly or on a bi-monthly basis. Next slide. So going from there, we're going to go into and kind of look what happens after preclinical. You're going to go into clinical trial authorization or CTA phase. Objective of this phase is pretty simple. You're going to gain approval from the MHRA to conduct the clinical trials in the UK. After Brexit, the MHRA is actually responsible for majority of the investigational regulatory phase of the products being approved in the UK. So you would have to more be on the advisable side with the whole regulatory structure in the UK. A timeline is pretty simple. Submission is expected 12 to 18 months before the planned start of phase 1 trials. Key activities, preparation of CTA application, including investigational medicine products, dossier, detailed trial protocols, investigator of brochures, engagement with MHR for scientific advice specific to the CAR T therapies and rare disease like myasthenia gravis, ideally 6 to 9 months before CTA submission. Deliverables. Deliverable CTA submission packet, finalized clinical trial protocol, and ethics committee approval. Next slide. For the phase 1 clinical trial, what you have is you're going to focus on the objective to evaluate the safety, tolerability, and the preliminary efficacy of the CAR T therapy in myasthenia gravis patients. Timeline's very straightforward as well. Start with 1 to 2 months post CTA approval and last approximately 12 to 24 months. And kind of the key activities, first in human dosing, dose escalation, safety assessments. More important, of course, are regulatory updates to the MHRA and the ethics committee to make sure that you're following all the guidelines in case they have anything that comes up that you're in touch with them on a monthly to a quarterly basis. Deliverables, usually phase 1 clinical trial report, very important. Safety data, optimal dose determination for the phase 2 trial itself. And next slide. So for the phase 2 and 3 clinical trials, the objective is to confirm the efficacy, safety, and the dosing. We're confirming the dosing, the actual safety dosing in the phase 1, but here we're kind of punctuating the dosing strategy as well to make sure that we don't overdose or underdose the patient. Usually this is a larger cohort population compared to the phase 1, and these are pivotal trials for marketing authorization. Usually the timeline begins 6 to 12 months after phase 1 completion, lasting 2 to 3 years. Budgetary constraints and other factors or hiccups that may occur during this time frame can make this process more complex. But the key activities during this sequence are more like a multi-center randomized trials with control arms as needed, continued patients and healthcare provider engagement to make sure that the patients are aware of novel treatment options that are coming on, the providers are aware and they're actually aware of how to appropriately provide these options to the patients, and preparation of potential candidate marketing authorization or standard marketing authorization application based on interim analysis. And deliverables, make sure that you're aware that you have to make the company is doing interim analysis reports, final study reports, preparation of regulatory submission prior to actually submitting it to the regulatory authorities or the MHRA in this case. Next slide. Following the regulatory submission and the review process. So how does that go about after you've done all the clinical studies and you've done phase 1, phase 2, phase 3? So the main objective is this to obtain marketing authorization from the MHRA in Brexit for this specific disease state. So the timelines submission usually immediately following positive phase 2 and following positive phase 3 results, with a review period of up to 210 days under the standard MHRA timeline. So it's a little bit, I would say, close to about 3/4 in a sense. Key activities, complications, and submissions of the MAA, including all clinical data, manufacturing details, proposed labeling. Very important that you have to get all this right to make sure that you don't get held back. Engagement with the MHRA during their review process, addressing queries, providing additional information. You have to have a reciprocation of back and forth. And deliverables that you are providing to them are approved marketing authorization, product label, post-marketing commitments. Next slide. And so once you have the regulatory strategy formulated and you have all your phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 completed, we have post-marketing and access strategy. Usually key objective is to ensure patient access and monitoring long-term safety and efficacy. Even though we have an approved drug in the market, we have to make sure it's still safe. Usually a lot of the time, side effect profiles are altered once the drug has been in the market for a longer period of time. So you have to make sure you watch out for anything new that comes up. Timeline concurrent with regulatory submission and following marketing approval. All this means is after you get approval for the medication itself, you go ahead and just follow any regulatory submissions that are required after the marketing has happened. Key activities, development of risk management plan and pharmacovigilance strategy, very important for a lot of pharmacists to be kind of more pharmacovigilance experts to be on stage and monitoring for any type of adverse events that are coming in. Negotiations with the National Institute of Health and Care Excellence, or NICE, as we heard that they're called, for health technology assessment and reimbursement. So engagement with patient advocacy groups and NHS to facilitate access. And the deliverables are very important, especially you have to get compliance from NICE. So NICE guidelines, post-marketing surveillance reports, and patient access schematics or schemes. And next slide. And this is going to be our reference group. And if there's any questions, let us know. But thank you so much.